For some people, the ultimate goal in life has been becoming the President of the United States. Would you like to be the President of the United States?
I really don't believe I would run it, but I would like to see somebody as the President who could do the job, and there are very capable people in this country.
Most people who are capable are not running for office. Most men are frightened of politics today.
It is a shame, isn't it?
Yes.
It is a shame. The most capable people are not necessarily running for political office, and that is a very sad commentary on the country. They had major corporations and they had this and that, but they are not running for political office.
Why wouldn't someone like yourself run for political office? You have all the money that you possibly need. You've accomplished a great deal, even though you are only 34. I know there's a lot of things that you possibly can do in the years ahead. Why wouldn't you dedicate yourself to public service?
Because I think it's a very mean life. I would love and I would dedicate my life to this country, but I see it as being a mean life, and I also see it as somebody with strong views and somebody with the kind of views that are maybe a little bit unpopular, which may be right, but may be unpopular, wouldn't necessarily have a chance of getting elected against somebody with no great brain but a big smile. And that's a sad commentary for the political process.
Television, in a strange way, has ruined that process, hasn't it?
It's hurt the process very much. I mean, the Abraham Lincolns of the world. Abraham Lincoln would probably not be electable today because of television. He was not a handsome man, and he did not smile at all. He would not be considered to be a prime candidate for the presidency, and that's a shame, isn't it?
But if all the men are like you, then when are we going to get somebody who might be good?
I don't know. I hope it's around the corner, but I don't know. I really don't know. What I would like to be involved in is trying to help choose somebody, or working with a group of people whereby they put up a candidate who would be acceptable to be a presidential, to be the president. The country, if we had the one man, and it's really not that big a situation. You know, people say, well, what could anybody do as president? The one man could turn this country around. The one proper president could turn this country around. I firmly believe that.
You think there is one man?
There is one man that can turn this country around. I could tell you, I know a number of people that would be excellent presidents. I will not tell you who they are, but I know a number of people that could be excellent presidents of this country. But they are not running for political office. They're not in political office. They're extraordinarily brilliant. They're very, very competent. They're leaders. They have the respect of everybody, and they would be fabulous presidents, but they're not running for political office, and I think that's very sad. And I think you said it. Maybe television is the thing that most hurt the political process in this country.
If you lost your fortune today, what would you do tomorrow?
Maybe I'd run for president. I don't know.
Just has enough money to give everyone in the audience tonight $1 million. Okay, we'll see what kind of mood he's in. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the author of this book right here, Trump, The Art of the Deal, Donald Trump. Hi, Donald. Good to see you. Nice of you to stop by. Thank you, David. You know, at the beginning of the show, I said you either love him or you hate him. Now, do you find that that's true, or does everybody love you, or does everybody hate you?
No, most people love me, and a few really have great distaste for me, David.
And why is it that those people, that few, would not care for you? Because you're so successful?
I can't imagine. No, I don't think so. It's just I sort of speak my mind a little bit like you in that respect.
Yeah.
A little bit like you.
A little bit like me.
Not too much, hopefully.
How much are you worth right now as you're sitting right here?
Zero idea, David. It depends on what's happening with the world and the market. But the $1 million for each person in the audience sounds like it could be an intriguing idea.
Yeah. Do you make more money? You own casinos. How many casinos do you own?
We have 4 casinos.
4 casinos in Atlanta?
Paradise Island, Atlantic City, and it's really been very fabulous.
Now, do you make more money from the casinos or more money in real estate development?
Well, probably real estate in a sense, but real estate is an appreciation business, whereas the casinos are cash flow, and I don't know, I never really even think of it in those terms. I try doing a great job, I think we have the best hotel casinos in the world, and hopefully I have the best real estate in the world with Trump Tower and everything, and that's what I like.
All right, now let's get back to the assessment of your wealth for a second. If you had to liquidate, if you just decided I'm going somewhere else, I'm going to live in a trailer, and you wanted to sell off, everything, you'd start with your real estate development, all of your real estate holdings, and whatever else you have, your casinos, so on and so forth. You sold everything.
Right.
How big would that check be that you put in your pocket when you headed west for the trailer?
Well, I hate to disappoint, but I have zero idea, David. How come this seat is at such a low level? You know, I'm looking at him. He's got this stage rigged, folks.
No. But
that seat is a good six inches higher than my seat.
And so am I.
Huh? I see.
But no, I'm serious. I think that
I'm not going to get you off that subject.
No, this is. I think this is the kind of thing that people love to fantasize about, because you are unquestionably one of the most successful men in the country, if not the world, and also one of the wealthiest. So, give us a figure that we might ponder here.
You'll never get it out of me, David. You'll never get it out of me. You'll try, but you'll never get it. Let's get something like how we're going to become more successful. Let's talk about that.
I read something this afternoon that said in the bank right now you have $500 million in cash. In cash. Is that a fair?
Which paper did you read that in?
Well, I can't divulge those sources.
You have to give me the newspaper.
No, just tell me, is that not true, or is that close? Am I nuts here?
Well, I don't know. You have to tell me where you got that, David. This is a very unusual interview, folks.
You won't put a figure, just an imaginary figure?
Never would.
$1 billion. You're worth $1 billion?
Perhaps.
Perhaps. But you
that
were
was a lot of fun, by the way.
Yeah,
Your coming up was a lot of fun.
And I must say, I thought that was very gracious of you to do, because obviously you got a lot better things to do than goof around with me.
You're right.
Yeah. And what about are people trying to draft you to run for president up in New Hampshire?
Well, I guess a lot of people want to see this country. It's a shame what's happening. Japan, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, everybody's taking advantage of the United States. People know that if certain people are running a country, that it won't happen. I mean, when you look at Japan, not paying for the defense. We're defending Japan. We're losing billions and billions of dollars. We're fighting for AIDS help and for farmers and for this and that. And it's a shame. And the Japanese folks, who I respect greatly, but they're not treating us fairly. They're really not treating us fairly. Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, they're not paying us anything for the services we're rendering, and I think it's a disgrace. And I think people look at certain people, and maybe me, if I were in a position, this country, believe me, would not be ripped off like it is, and it is just being ripped off so badly by our so-called allies.
Yeah. So that's a pretty strong statement. So now, are you saying? I
don't think it's strong. I think it's fair. And by the way, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese. I do a lot of business with the Japanese, and they smile about it too. They know it. The country is losing billions and billions of dollars to Japan, and we can't afford to lose, and it's a shame.
But so now, are you saying this by way of indicating that you could do it better, and you do intend to run for president at some point?
No, I'm not going to run for president, but I think somebody.
Now, in 8 years, if you came back, would you have a different answer? In 4 years,
I tend to doubt it. I really tend to doubt it. But I just think that there's so many ways that this country can straighten itself out, and we're not going about those ways. Cutting farm aid is not the appropriate thing. Cutting help for the homeless and help for the poor and welfare. Certain things can be done that really will mean big dollars to this country, and those things are not being done right now.
Let me ask you one other question, because I know you have other appointments and stuff to get to. If you go to dinner and the bill is like, say, $25, how much of a tip would you throw down?
Well, you know, the way I feel about tips, if somebody does a super job, I give more than anyone. And if somebody does a lousy job, I probably give less than anybody. And that's the way I feel about life. Life should be, you should be rewarded for competence and capability and doing a job and having a smile on your face, maybe, if that's the case. And I'm a pretty good tipper when somebody's good, and I'm a pretty lousy tipper if somebody's not good. So that's the way it is.
But, you know, sitting here listening to this stuff, it seems to me you are dying to get to some public platform to superimpose those feelings upon the American awareness.
Well, maybe so, but I'm not. I would like to have the feelings known and let somebody else do it, and it can be done. If the ball's carried correctly, it can be done.
Yeah, but if you want something done right,
do it yourself.
Here is the book. It's Trump, the Art of the Deal, and this is Donald Trump. Donald, thank you very much for coming out.
Cleveland. Meanwhile, check out this long-lost video of Trump that's now tearing up the internet. The year, 1988. Oprah asks if he might run for president someday.
I would never want to rule it out totally because I really am tired of seeing what's happening with this country.
Sound familiar?
We have to make America great again. Thank you. Thank you.
You've said, though, that if you did run for president, you believe you'd win.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd win. I tell you what, I wouldn't go in to lose. I've never gone in to lose in my life. And if I did decide to do it, I think I'd be inclined, I would say that I would have a hell of a chance of winning, because I think people, I don't know how your audience feels, but I think people are tired of seeing the United States ripped off. And I can't promise you everything, but I can tell you one thing, this country would make one hell of a lot of money from those people that for 25 years have taken advantage. It wouldn't be the way it's been, believe me.
Let's get into some things. The Reform Party, by its name, means reform. You will be leaving, if you run this, you believe in what? The Republican Party?
I'm a registered Republican. I'm a pretty conservative guy. I'm somewhat liberal on social issues, especially health care, etc. But I'd be leaving another party, and I've been close to that party.
Why would you leave the Republican Party?
I think that nobody's really hitting it right. The Democrats are too far left. I mean, Bill Bradley, this is seriously left. He's trying to come a little more center, but he's seriously left. The Republicans are too far right. And I don't think anybody's hitting the chord. Not the chord that I want to hear, and not the chord that other people want to hear. And I've seen it. Plus, I think there's a great lack of spirit in this country. What's happened over the last 4 years is disgusting. And I just think there's a tremendous lack of spirit. And I think the spirit has to be brought back.
You have a vice presidential candidate in mind?
Well, I really haven't gotten quite there yet.
But
I guess
it's just
Oprah. I love Oprah. Oprah would always be my first choice.
Oprah.
Oprah, your competitor, right? Your
competitor. Oprah's a competitor.
You know what?
No
I'll tell you, she's really a great woman, though. She is a terrific woman. She's somebody that's very special. I have not even thought about it. I guess we'll see. We'll see. Maybe that's part of the whole process.
Would she be someone, I mean, kidding aside, that you might think about?
If she'd do it, she'd be fantastic. I mean, she's popular, she's brilliant, she's a wonderful woman. I mean, if she'd ever do it, I don't know that she'd ever do it. She's got,
you'd ask her.
She'd be sort of like me. I mean, I have a lot of things going, she's got a lot of things going.
What a ticket that would be.
That would be a pretty good ticket, but she's a very exceptional woman.
What makes a good president?
Well, I think the leadership qualities. You know, the sad part about President Clinton, who I happen to like a lot, but he could have had a great presidency if the whole thing with Monica and Paula Jones, and the worst of all is, you know, Linda Tripp. I mean, this woman, where she came from, I have no idea, but this is the woman from hell.
But he didn't have anything to do with Linda Tripp.
No, he didn't, but she always seems to surface, and she's just became a part of the administration.
But can't you say, in all honesty, as Reagan asked when running against Carter, haven't you done better the last, under Clinton? You and Donald Trump,
you know what,
that's true. The truth
is that Rubin and Alan Greenspan and, you know, those appointments were
on his watch.
And it is on his watch. And the sad part is, and what I'm saying is that he could have gone down as a really very good and maybe
you'll admit you
president.
have done well, and the country's done well.
I have done well, and the country's done well from an economic standpoint. There's no question about that. And now you're going to see what happens over the next period of a year, because, you know, when the election takes place, if things aren't doing well, Larry, your Reform Party candidate has a major chance of doing something major.
Why,
so you have to see what happens.
Why does Gore inherit this character question?
Well, Gore is a man that I've said before is a very underrated man. But if he keeps going the way he's going, which has been terrible, he's no longer going to be underrated.
What's he doing wrong?
Nobody knows. It's just, I think he's relying on too many people. I think he probably raised too much money, and therefore it's being taken away by too many different consultants. I mean, everybody's got a piece of him. If he'd just go back to being the regular guy that he was, I think he'd do. I mean, he got to be vice president of the United States by being Gore. And now, all of a sudden, you have 15 people tugging on his shoulders and taking money from his various contributions. I mean, if he spent $20 million, I've spent exactly $20 million less. And
what do you want in a president? You said, okay, Clinton could have been a great president, not for the character issue. And you're saying the character issue,
well, I think it's very important. I mean, Ronald Reagan, to me, was a great president. And whether you're liberal or you're conservative, people really view him as a great president. He'll go down as a great president, not so much for the things he did, just there was a demeanor to him and a spirit that the country had under Ronald Reagan that was really phenomenal. And you know, there was just a style and a class, and that's a big part of being president. I mean, that's a really big part of being president. Ronald Reagan had it. Eisenhower, now Eisenhower, I don't see him too much on lists of great, great presidents, but there was a nice time in the country. The country had a prestige, and he had a certain, you know, demeanor. He was a quality class act. There are certain people that have that. Unfortunately, with all of the scandal in the last 4 years, and what's happening with Gore is he's really tainted by it, and he's probably the last one to be involved in that kind of a scandal. But he's still tainted by it. It's a tough
fair
problem.
or unfair, it's a fact.
Well, I mean, if he were really on his game, he'd get one of his senator friends to go and run against Bradley and him so that you could divide up the anti-Clinton/Gore vote, and he'd get in very easily.
Get somebody else.
At least he'd get the nomination.
Strategy.
Well, no, it has to be strategy, because it's not that Bradley's good. Bradley's not great. I know Bradley very well from New Jersey. I think I'm the largest employer in the state of New Jersey, and I know Senator Bradley. And you know, he was going to be thrown out of office. This guy was not going to be reelected. And then he made the statement that I'm going not to run, and the Senate is a terrible place, and everybody in the Senate's terrible. It wasn't that he didn't want to run. The guy was going to lose. He was going to lose badly.
Well, Perot told us back in '92 the kind of president he would be if elected, that he would be decisive, he would be uninterested in pomposity, he would be at work at 8 o'clock in the morning. These are things he would do. He didn't like, not a big ribbon cutter. What kind of president would Donald Trump be?
Well, again, all those things are fine, but, you know, again, you go back to Reagan, and there is a certain pomposity and there was a certain ribbon-cutting stature that is important for the president. I think that the whole style and look of him was just really...
Are you saying that's the kind of person you want to be?
Well, I don't say that, and I don't like to be compared to anybody, and maybe it would be unfair to them, to be honest with you, but the president has to be a great leader, and you have to lead by example. But you need leadership in this country, and we're just not having it right now. And this is going to be Gore's problem, because he is very much associated with 4 very ugly years, despite an economy. I mean, if you had a bad economy at this point, it would be a disaster out there. But you do have the one thing, you have a good economy.